Been following the money on the high-speed rail. There are some serious questions about how they're using the billions they have.
To be clear, they don't have enough money to complete the $68 billion project, the so-called bullet train. Our investigative producer Heidi Kuda has this update.
Everything turns on whether the High-Speed Rail Authority can get more money. If it can't, all that will likely exist is a rail system non-electrified in the Central Valley with a price tag of $6 billion. Taxpayers here may never see that bullet train they voted for to take them to San Francisco, but Dan Richard, the chairman of the Rail Authority, says he can entice private sector investors to pick up that tab. Dan Richard is asked this question all the time.
So where is the additional money going to come from? It's going to come from private sector investment.
The chairman of California's High-Speed Rail Authority is confident he can get more money.
We anticipate that at a certain stage of the project, not yet, but at a certain stage, it will trigger private sector investment that we estimate between $11 and $20 billion to come in and help build out the rest of the system.
But critics say they're never going to get to that certain stage that triggers private investment because there's not enough cash right now to get there. Venture capitalist Michael Brownrigg says the Rail Authority has known this for years.
They've been told by the private sector this is not investment grade.
In other words, with the money they have now, they won't be able to do enough to show that it's a good investment.
And they actually interviewed people in the private sector, and they interviewed finance people, and the finance people said, we wouldn't make this investment unless you promise to pay us back. That's a guarantee.
Brownrigg is part of this Brain Trust, a group that includes professors, economists, and CEOs. They've all been studying California high-speed rail for years. Their big concern, without more money, the Los Angeles to San Francisco bullet train taxpayers were sold will only be a track with no cars in the Central Valley.
There is no more money. So anything beyond that expenditure at this moment is pure bluff.
But Dan Richard is optimistic.
What we're talking about is an initial public investment, and then under our business plan, we would sell the right to operate the system to a private sector operator. They would write the taxpayers of California a check for the privilege of doing that.
Michael Brownrigg says the only thing he knows for sure.
It's a bad investment. That's the part that gets me the most. If you make an investment, you ought to get a return. And this is a lousy, there is no return on this.
We're going to be live next week in the Central Valley to get to the bottom of what's really being built up there, who it's affecting, and whether or not we're ever going to see high-speed rail in Los Angeles. Heidi Kuda, Fox News at 7.
For more on our Saving the California Dream series, go to myfoxla.com.